Hello guys and welcome to the second part of this episode of HRL History where we're going over the Blast from the Past championship battle between Detail and myself. And just to recap the first part really quickly, after those first two races I'd be sitting at 34 points with the first and Detail would be sitting at 29 points with the 2-3. So that's what we're looking like after the first two races into this Blast from the Past championship battle. But I'm just going to let us get right into it here with Mount Guerco. Mount Guerco being the third race here, and Mount Guerco as this third race is kind of like a turning point, I would say, because if I end up getting this win, that's 3 in a row, and also like it's an 8-race tournament, 5 races left. I'm already starting off with 3 wins. Like that's already a pretty strong showing, and that's kind of like, not just like mentally, like in the game it's pretty hard to come back from if somebody already has a pretty big lead like that, but you know, also mentally that'd be really tough to come back from. It's like, damn, that's a really good start. So this is kind of like this is a pretty decisive race, I think, because this is where I think Detail needs to get a win here and start like making some gains, and we'll see how this race goes for us. Starts off kind of cheesy. Honestly, starts off like a classic Guerco race. You know, everybody like pretty tightly together, just trying to make those passes, because passes can be pretty tough to make on this track. They're pretty, oh my god, they're pretty reliant on mistakes. But at the same time, like, we've raced Guerco so many times, so like at this point there's not that many mistakes being made. There's also the chance of that cheesy downhill rumble that used to cheese people, but I believe that was those freaking pool noodles, man. Those freaking pool noodles. I believe that was actually fixed for this version. So that was always like kind of a factor in Guerco in the past, like, oh, that downhill corner could cheese you. But that was fixed for this version. So like little minor adjustments for most of these tracks going into the night, and that was Guerco's adjustment, was making sure that second rumble and that downhill was just not an issue, because it was kind of, you know, we saw that in the I think it actually played a role in the elimination tournament a week before that here, and it also played a role in like actual Guerco regular season races, and it was just something that we never touched up for some reason. So decided to make sure, especially after, because the elimination because the elimination tourney happened a week before this, it was like pretty obvious at the time, like, okay, this has been like too many times. Let's fix this issue. Don't want it to play a role in this on this track anymore. So we fixed it. And now we're good to go, pretty much. So let's get up more towards the front here. If I recall correctly, I believe that actually Opix, oh yeah, pretty sure Opix leads the majority of the beginning of this race, because he lagged out of St. Louis, unfortunately, and that was like a really sucky start to his night, because, you know, you don't want to, 8-race tourney, you don't want to lag out in the second race. Like, that really sucks. You don't want to lag out in any race, right? So if you think about it that way, like, the second race is probably one of the better races to lag out on. Like, you probably want that to happen early on in the tournament, because at that point it's like, all right, well, I'm down now. Like, you don't really have much to lose at that point for the rest of the tourney. But still, regardless, that just really sucks. And on the bright side, though, he got to start in the front for this, and he got to lead a pretty significant portion of the race, so that's definitely a good thing for him. I think this is actually me going for a move on Hunter here for like top 5 or something. I think it might be for a top 5. Oh, it's getting close. Good little battle here. Just a little 2-wheel pop by Hunter there in the exit of that corner, and so I was able to get him. That was pretty crazy. If he didn't pop that 2-wheel, I had to highlight it in the video. If he didn't pop that 2-wheel, then I think that battle could have continued, but that definitely helped me out a little bit there. And this is where it starts to like pack up a little bit here, because there's still some drivers, I'll say, off the pace a little bit in front, so it starts to pack up a little bit. This actually, though, I believe, yep, unfortunately his armor is cheesed. Man, that really pisses me off, especially with the quality of these videos. The armor cheese makes it really hard for me to call out who's who, but I know this is Opix in first in Detail already. He had a really good start to the race, and he's the first one going to try to get by Opix here in the lead. And this is exactly what he needed, because, like I said, 2 wins in a row, you got to break that streak. And Guerco's a good opportunity, because even though, like, he even said himself, he's usually like not the fastest at Guerco, I'd say he's, I suppose, one of the most consistent, because Detail usually he's gotten a few wins here, and he usually finishes pretty well. So even though it's not like, even though he's fast at GP generally, even though this isn't necessarily his fastest GP, he's really consistent at this track and kind of uses that to his advantage. Also, it really helps when you dice your way through the pack that early, and you're getting that first shot at the lead. And Avix just overshot that corner right there, and that's just going to be a pretty easy take there for Detail. Avix surprisingly had a little more than I thought coming into the chicane, but right there he loses it, and this is a big moment for Detail, that pass, because now he's got Opix and another driver. I can't exactly tell who that other driver is, but he's got two drivers now slowing up. This is Luke and Roman doing battle here. Oh, I thought I wasn't third personing myself for this. Whatever. So that's gonna help him out a little bit, because of course, like, even if I end up coming up second, like, that's gonna minimize how many points he's gaining. He's still gonna be gaining points, and of course he just wants to secure this win. And the more time right here that is like wasted for us trying to get by these drivers, that's just going to give Detail even more and more and more of a gap. And as you can see, this battle for third is raging on. It was a pretty insane crossover right there. So this battle's just going ham right now. And then I think I'm going to end up making a move here. Right where Detail made the move for the lead, actually. And going to take it. And Roman comes in, and Real Deal comes into the triple pass. I don't exactly remember which driver that was. It's hard for me to tell, but that is so unfortunate, man. A triple pass in that corner. Oh my god, that is tough. That's big, because now that whole pack is going to start gaining, and this is also big too, that Detail gets the lead and that I get into third, because now I've got Opix, and as long as I can get by Opix pretty efficiently, that would pretty much lock up a 1-2, which would minimize Detail's points gains, but at the same time, if he's getting a dub, he's going to be gaining points. So let's cheese up a little bit here. Oh no, internet. Oh no, come on, dog. Yeah, sometimes it's a little slow today. Alright, I think, yeah, this should be good. This should be good. Perfect. So here it is, actually. Right there, I make the move on Opix. I didn't expect that to happen that quickly. But we're still going at it, but I'm going to complete the pass right here. The real question is, who else is going to take advantage? It's actually Real Deal with a really solid move. Almost even gets a run on me in the next corner, and it's not gonna, as you can see, like with the way the next corners work out, it's not gonna lead to a triple pass, but that was still like huge. That was a really good, that was just a really good opportunistic move right there. Let's actually, because I get to do that in this series, take a replay at that. Okay, even though this isn't really crucial for the championship, I just want to show a replay of it because it was cool. So what happens here is Opix ends up fighting back with me into this downhill, so we're going ham here. Sort of slowing each other up, and then kind of slowing Roman up too. He, I don't know if he didn't anticipate that or whatever, but he gets stuck on the outside, and that's going to ruin his chance to try to be the one to take advantage of this battle. And Real Deal sees that coming, and as you can see with the way he took that first corner, he just has like the perfect line in here, whereas we're all going to be going wide a little bit, slowing each other up. That's what happens. As you can see, I stuck the inside pretty hard, but it's still, like, Real Deal just had a really good line into there, and these guys on the outside are just guaranteed to be getting slowed down a little bit from the fact that I had the inside, and Real Deal takes advantage of it. It has a ton of momentum, blows by Roman completely, gets side by side with Opix, but gets a really good line in the next corner, and then the way that I slowed down as well, that just worked out so perfectly for him, and he's able to make that double pass. I know that wasn't really important for the championship, but it was cool. Well, it kind of is, because if Real Deal here, he's kind of like the last contender. If he can get by me and take a second, like, that's actually huge for Detail here, because that's just gonna gain him an extra point, really. It's gonna allow him to close that gap a little bit more. So Real Deal is actually kind of important here for this championship battle. So even though that Detail has the lead right now, he has a really strong lead. He's probably gonna win this race. Like, with this championship battle series, like, the most important battle on track right now really is me and Real Deal. Like, that's the most important battle, because Detail's not going to lose that lead at this point. Like, he's got that lead locked up. The real question is, can I hold on to second? And if I can, like, that'll help me out quite a bit. And if I can't, that is definitely going to work out in Detail's favor. Early on, but, you know, the more points, the merrier. And Real Deal was really getting some nice jabs at the inside there, some nice opportunities, but then there in the downhill, I was able to gap him a little bit. Although he had a really nice last corner right there, absolutely railed it. Roman eventually, well, maybe able to get by Opix. Opix really fought for these positions. It's funny because Detail, like, Opix made that really bad corner, and Detail kind of just, like, went by him, but for the rest of these positions, he really fought for all these and really put up a pretty good fight, but eventually he's going to lose it out there. and he's still gonna end up getting a top 5, so good for him. But man, he really stuck that out for a while. As we go up a little more, and as you can see, like as we went on, it just got a little more gapped and a little more gapped and a little more gapped, and then at a certain point here, I just ended up gapping Real Deal and kind of solidified that second place position. So it's pretty much guaranteed at this point in this race that that Detail is going to end up taking the win, and that I'm going to end up taking second. So we end up getting second 1-2 already in 3 races. But Detail ends up taking the win this time, snapping the streak and potentially shifting the momentum back in his favor, which could be huge for this tournament. So let's go to the end here where that happens. Holy crap, is this race just really long? What the hell? Why do I feel like this race is super long? But here it is. Here's the last lap, and like I showed with those previous gaps, like after a little bit there is kind of just solidified. And honestly, he won this race in like the first few laps. Like we're kind of just like watching the beginning there. If you guys want to, you could always go back, but maybe I'll even go back here honestly and check it out a little bit, see if there's anything that sticks out to me on that first lap. But yeah, the first few laps definitely won him this race, because like lap 2 or 3 or something like that, I don't know, I feel like it was really early on he was already there on OPIX, whereas the rest of the drivers, like it took them quite a while to get there, and then once they got to him, it took them quite a while to get by him, whereas Detail got to OPIX really fast and then he got by him really fast. So I feel like he won this race really early on, and you know, sometimes that pays off, especially these inverted starts. Like you get those really good starts, you get by the pack quickly, it can really help you out. So let's actually go back and watch it. Now I'm curious. Let's go back and watch this. I just want to see if there's anything that sticks out to me. So where Detail's starting in this race, right there is where he's starting. Okay, so like second to last row, not the very back, but second to last row is where he's going to be starting. So watch him here, and let's see if there's any big moves that we can point at. Okay, watch him here. Oh, that's big. Okay, so already right off the rip, and this is going to be interesting because, again, like going through the replays in this series, I don't really get to analyze this stuff this much. But this is something that I definitely never analyze, like starts and stuff like that, working my way through the pack, because that's something that I think is like a really big. I genuinely do think that there's a skill to it. Like there's always luck and there's always chance, but I really do think that there's a skill to it, and if somebody's like getting through the pack really efficiently, like week in and week out, then they're doing something right. So I'm actually going to get a chance here to look at how he dices his way through the pack, and we're actually going to get to analyze that for once, because we never really get to look at something like that. So watching him here, honestly, what works out with this start is that he just has a good enough start to hold this inside. It actually works out for me too. If you look at me too, this is actually a really good start for both of us. We just like held that inside. We had a really good run up the uphill, and this is going to work out really well for us going into the next downhill. So still, that's Detail and that's me. And as you can see, it was huge for him to get that gap on these two drivers with where he started, because that means he's going to get these 2 positions here, whereas I'm going to have to still like kind of work for those. Detail's able to get those right away. Ooh, gets really risky right there though. And then let's see here. Ooh, is he able to take advantage of that? Wow. So he's able to get on the inside there of 3 drivers. Let's see how much he can pick up off that though. He's going to have to settle out. Oh my god. That was so close. That was so close. This is actually a really good move right here. So let's watch this. This is low key like why Detail won the race. This just shows how close it can be sometimes. He gets a really good run on the inside, but he knows he's not going to have anything for the chicane. So he does something smart. Goes way out to the edge. And then swoops back in. And that works out really well because this driver ends up hitting the pole and going sideways. And like if Detail ended up staying competitive, like I know a lot of drivers probably would have, on like their outside there, he probably could have got caught up in this crash, but instead he backed out smartly, got a better line in, and ends up, he makes contact, but he ends up living through that crash because of that. And that was pretty freaking big. Like that was pretty huge. If he contested for that a little too much. Another big thing about that is that also slowed me up behind him and allowed Real Deal to get by and Roman to start contesting as well. So I ended up, because of that crash and because of him having to slow up, I ended up losing 2 positions because of that. Whereas like if I didn't lose those positions, I could have contested. I probably could have contested early. So that, like, for several factors going there, that was a big move. Okay, so this one's kind of just this one's like how I said before, how there's some chance to it. This one is a little bit lucky and a little bit fortunate, but also we're gonna go through it. So right here, Real Deal actually has a really nice run on Detail, and he's potentially gonna be taking that position early. But I think it's Hunter actually hits the pole up here, and I think Detail sees that right here. So he's gonna make sure that he holds that line just enough so that there's just gonna be no room there, and Real Deal goes right into the inside. And that's just going to slow up everybody so much. But Detail gets through it. He gets through it. And that was all just paying attention. Like, just paying attention in front of him. That's all it was. I think he actually is contesting for that position now. That's like top 3 right there. He's just going to take it on the inside. So it takes another position. So yeah, first lap, Detail goes from like the second to last row to podium. And in the entire starting lap, goes from the second to last row to the podium. And then of course, like, the 2 leaders have a pretty big lead, but they end up making it back up. So that's I'm glad I got to go through that. That was interesting. I don't really watch stuff like that, but as you saw there, that's kind of like what we know from racing. Like, there was a lot of skill there. There was a lot of awareness. There was a lot of paying attention. There was some being in the right place at the right time, but there was also he did a lot of, like, I always even when I play shooters, I talk about this. Always about putting yourself in a good position, right? Like, positioning yourself for success, and he definitely did that in those starting laps. Complete opposite of that coming up here at Mirabilis. Quick drink. All right. So that win was big for Detail. He's going to close in 2 points now on Luke. So if I can get an update on that champ battle here. That's going to put Luke at 49 points now going into this race, whereas it's going to put Detail at 46. So now he's only 3 points behind. He was 5 points behind going in. So only 2 points, but that's still good points. Now this one this is him right here. This one's a little bit cheesier though. This one's a bit cheesier of a race, but we're actually starting next to each other. Okay, so off the start, we were talking about this beforehand. He just had to troll. So Detail goes into the stands and comes back out of the track, almost dies because Opix almost like shoves him out. Honestly, if you look at this start, this is the funny thing. Like, this was just a troll move. We were talking about it beforehand. We are like, yeah, just do it. And he did it. But low key, this could have worked out really well for him. Like, if Opix wasn't there and he just landed right in the berm and started ripping, legit, that stadium move could have got him to like top 5 right away. No joke. Like, that was actually potentially insane. But this race is more about fighting from adversity, because this one does not go as swimmingly as Mount Guerco. So right off the start right there, kind of just honestly gets some bad halo physics. That was Detail going down there. Like, yeah, if I'm being honest here, this is kind of just like bad halo physics. Like, there's a lot of crashing going on, and he gets hit kind of hard, I think, by Opix there, and like the Goose just super overreacts to that, so he goes down early. So already it's going to be a bit of a comeback race for Detail early on in this Mirabilis race. So so I go down here too. So this is kind of an adversity race for both of us, honestly. So if you look right here, I almost have a really good move right here. Almost a super good move. Gonna try to go around this berm as this driver makes a mistake. I could have made like a triple pass right there. But what ends up happening is that Real Deal comes, let me watch it from his perspective and see. Is that Real Deal is coming on this inside when that other driver makes the mistake, and it ends up kind of like, if you look at it, it ends up kind of helping Real Deal. It puts him into a really nice inside line. He has no idea that I'm coming here, and he's already running for that pole. So just unfortunate right there, end up getting into him, and that's going to spin me around. And I just get caught up super hard right there. Look at that. I got caught up super hard. Even Detail had to slow down right there. So Detail and I... Detail still has the lead on me. Oh, that was a big pass right there too. Low key. That was a really nice pass. Running the berm around the outside there. So Detail has the advantage early in this race, but at the same time, we both had horrible starts. Like, those were not ideal at all. So we're both going to have to fight from adversity here to go for this win. And that's kind of, I think... the hell was that lag? I think we're both thinking about that already in this race, because even though there's 5 races left, like 3 races in, we still kind of knew that we were going to be the ones competing for the championship. because of the way those first 3 races went. It was like, all right, we've already had like 3 really consistent finishes here, and everything else, the rest of the field's been kind of like all over the place to start off with. Aside from Real Dill actually had a pretty solid start to the night. Like, he was still kind of in it at this point. So I'll give him credit for that. Not towards the end, spoiler alert, but start of the night, Real Dill actually did pretty well, from what I can recall. At least the podium on Guerco, podium on, or not podium on St. Louis, but 4th on St. Louis. What did he get on frickin' Barbo? Top 5 at least, I'm sure. So it wasn't that bad of a start. He's still in it. So here's some big moves for Detail here. We'll watch this. This is a classic move on this old version of Mirabilis RX here, is you get this really good run coming into this jump, and the preferred line is to go around the right here. But if you have a really good run, you go inside on the left, get that spacing, and then you cross over the rut. And it does take some skill, because crossing over the rut, you do it at the wrong spot, you do it at the wrong speed, you could really screw yourself over. But you see Detail do this at a ton of Mirabilis races. Like, he's just really good at that move, and he makes that move stick a lot of the time. So that's kind of how that goes for him right there. But another big pass down. I think he just took the Joker there too. So early Joker usage, and I think the idea behind his early Joker usage there was he was just thinking, well, he's thinking he can pass that driver in front of him pretty quickly, and if he can use that spacing to just like run some good laps and get some time up. Whereas I'm running a different Joker strategy. I'm saving mine towards the end, and that's where this race gets kind of interesting. So let's skip ahead a little bit here until we have some more conk. Okay, Joker usage right here. Okay, so a lot of more of the mid-pack drivers using the Joker right there. Okay, let's see where we pick back up. I'm gonna pick back up right here. Pretty far into this race now. We definitely skipped ahead a few minutes there. Hunter's in the lead right now, but if you look, Detail is in second, trying to track him down, and I think he used both of his Jokers. I think he went with the early Joker strategy. His idea was like, all right, I'm going to use these Jokers, I'm going to give myself some space, and then I'm going to rip some laps. And that's what he did, and he's already made like a big recovery. He's already in second. But Hunter does have a pretty big gap in front of him, albeit. Like, you saw it. Like, that's a pretty big gap. And even though he's had some really good performances at Mirabilis, everybody makes mistakes here. Even Detail is definitely prone to some mistakes at Mirabilis, and he's going to have a really clean set of laps here. Or have to just like sort of be patient and wait for Hunter to make a mistake to make up that ground. Because even though he's ahead of Luke here, and even though he'll still be gaining in the championship, he's going to be gaining more if he gets that win. So he's still going to be wanting to go for that win. So these next few laps, I think that Detail's really just going to focus on. I think he's really just going to focus on running clean, getting some time, and just letting that lead come to him, because it seems like there's still a pretty significant amount of time left in this race. So I think that's what he's going to do. Not worrying about who's behind him. Even though this is a big part in the race right here. I'm going to slow-mo right away. Watch this. Roman uses his Joker here. Has an opportunity for the lead. Coming in. He's going for it. And the contact from Hunter into the rock as well. And look at this Detail. Runs the chicane really well. Sticks the inside. Goes with it. And he gets by Roman. And that was huge. By Roman. That was huge. Multiple reasons that was huge. One, as you can see, that slowed down Hunter. Look at that. Detail's now on Hunter's bumper. Two, Roman had an opportunity for the lead there. He was actually having a really good Mirabilis race. He could have like made a play for the win right there, and that just conked him back to third and gave him a huge gap to work back up. And the other big thing, I probably already mentioned this. Sorry, I probably just pulled a Trailer Park Boys here. I'm gonna list 3 things and put the same thing twice. I was just so hyped up. But yeah, it slows down. Let's go back through the reasons. It slows down Hunter, conks Roman, and the other big thing is that Detail was able to avoid that, and now he's safely in second, and he's working on that lead. I hope I didn't just pull a frickin' Ricky there and say the same thing, but whatever. So now, and this could be it. Oh, it looks like Detail does end up taking it. So sorry, I conked the camera a little bit, but I'm not gonna replay it. Well, yeah, we'll replay that one. So like this was basically the same thing that we saw earlier when I slowed it down. So Detail just makes the same move on Hunter here. He has a really good run. He's gonna run that berm, cross him up right there, go to the inside. You could tell going into the jump he already had a pretty significant run. And then he just gets that spacing, crosses over, pops a nice 2-wheel, and gets in front of him. And there it is. Detail's gonna take the lead here on Hunter. So yeah, that was big. That was definitely big. So now Detail has the lead. The question is, at this point. Can he hold on to it? Like, there's been some cheese this race. Spoiler alert, there's going to be some more cheese. Can he hold on to this lead? And where am I going to come into play at this point? Because, as you can see, this top 3, like, I'm nowhere to be found. But there's also a lot of time left, and I think that I've got joker usages left. So there could still be some cheese here left at the end. I think like most of those guys up front were just using their jokers early, and I was one of the last people to use my jokers. I might even use the first one here. So there it is. There's my first joker usage. And it doesn't look like that much time gained, but we'll get a more accurate look at how much time I'm going to gain off those jokers here in the coming lap. Detail still holding on to that lead. Kind of just cruising here. Forcing Hunter to make the move, really. So here it comes. Where am I? There I am. Gonna make the joker move right there and come out safely in third. So this is where it gets interesting because there's only a few laps left, and with that joker, I wasn't able to come out in front of Detail, wasn't able to come out in front of Hunter, but I am able to come out in striking distance in third. So we're getting to the last few laps here, and I'm at such a point in the race where if I just run some really clean laps here, and if I can get by Hunter, then this could get really interesting. But Hunter is low-key like the biggest factor right here, honestly. And you also have Roman creeping behind in fourth. Like, we make some mistakes up there, he could catch up and even play a role in this as well. So at this point in the race, I think I'm aware of that, and what I'm trying to do is get by Hunter as fast as possible. And as you can see, trying to set him up here, but not going to have quite the gap that Detail did. It's still a pretty good run, like still kind of get the time back, but not quite what Detail was able to do. And this next rumble, and right here, it's mostly just me trying to put pressure on Hunter, and I know that Detail is going for this dub, and that it's gonna net him a lot of points. And I know that like every second that I can't get by Hunter here, I'm losing that opportunity to win. So I'm trying, like in unorthodox places, I'm trying to put the pressure on Hunter and get that spot as soon as I possibly can. And as you can see, it's helping Detail out. Like, he's gaining a ton of time here, and I'm just trying to get by whenever I can because it's just gaining him so much time. I mean, look at how much he gapped already in that lap. So I know that I've got to get by Hunter, because once I get by him, I'm going to have to make some of those gains again and then have to try to make the move on Detail. So going to this first rumble, Hunter makes a mistake right there. So I'm going to gain a lot of time off of that. But the real question is, can I make the move in this next downhill? Going to set it up. Smooth run to the inside. Hunter went super hard for the block, but at the end there, he just had to realize that I did have the line. But we're going to go 2 by 2, and here Detail makes a mistake in front of us. I'm sticking it around the outside to the inside and going to end up taking the position on Hunter there. So that was crazy. Let's go back and watch a replay of that, because that was pretty big right there. So I'm not going to go too far back, but you saw that like in the downhill, I just had a really nice setup. I had better speed and was able to get it to the inside of Hunter. Or, we'll go back. We've been going through these replays, so we'll go back. So really, like, this move starts here. God. How far back are we going? So really, this move starts here, right? This rumble is huge. If you mess up this rumble, you lose a lot of time. Literally huge. On top of the fact that the speed is huge. So Hunter just lost all that time. I go right to his bumper after he messes it up. Now we go into this downhill. And as you can see in this like downhill chicane, I suppose you could say, I just set it up super wide, and then I swoop in super inside. Whereas Hunter kind of slides out there, I'm sliding in, which is just going to give me a better line on the exit and allows me to get on his inside right there. Roman also creeping behind. So I get the line on his inside, and then we're coming out of here, and we're going to be going into the next section. Now we'll just let it go. So right here, I get this line on the rumble, and I'm basically just trying to maintain the momentum. And as you can see, Detail also makes a mistake in front, so he's going to lose some time from that. And then right here, I know that I just don't really have an option, so I decided to go for the berm line, which is definitely not what you see a lot in this section. This is definitely, you want to take the inside here. So I take the berm line, and I just have a really good run. Like, that just doesn't happen that often, but I had enough of I was side by side enough with Hunter going into it, and I had a good enough run into the berm that I was able to get back to this inside before Hunter was able to get there. And you could tell, like, the way I was running in there, you could tell I was just committed at that point. So just committed to it, slid up right there, not giving Hunter too much room, giving him just enough to be able to make it. And he ends up having a rough landing as well, but I'm going to be able to take that position. And now this also kind of helps me out as well, because it's going to allow Roman to catch up, and now Roman's going to be on Hunter's bumper. And Detail, I don't even know what happens, but he makes another mistake. This is getting ridiculous. But what even happened? All right, slow-mo. So Detail running on the exit of the cave. It looks like he went for the it looks like he went for the jump line and just got a completely conky jump. Like, that was just ridiculous. No wonder we removed that, because it sucks. So he just went for the jump line and just completely conked it. And now this gets crazy because he lost a ton of time. And I'm going to try to go to the inside here, trying to hold it, but Detail is just having a really nice run on the outside, goes super hard on the rumble, and now we're side by side with Hunter and Roman as well, approaching behind. But Detail is eventually going to be able to hold on to that position, but now it's getting scary. Now he can't make another mistake. This is literally a full pack of 4, a train of 4 right here. This is a big race too, 4th race of the tournament. Roman makes a mistake there, loses a ton of time, but Hunter's still in it. Detail and I are as well still there, battling super close for 1st and 2nd. This first rumble is going to be big. And we both run it kind of bad, to be honest. I ran it worse, but we both did not run that very well. Hunter and Roman seem to do decent. This downhill chicane is going to be big. I had a really good run on Hunter. Make a little mistake in the exit, but I think I did gain time on Detail just a little bit. Roman's going to be making this move on Hunter. Oh, Detail, I think he had a really good... Oh, Hunter's going to protect that. Hold on. Hunter's going to hold on to that 3rd. Wow. But I think Detail... I think I had a really good downhill section, but I think Detail had a really good sand section. He's going to make up a lot of that time back. And now he's got about a goose length, which is just enough. If he can just hit his marks here. Be vigilant for any type of move coming from behind him. Oh my god, a driver conks. Oh, that is unfortunate. And yeah, about a goose length and a half, 2 goose lengths now. Detail's looking pretty strong, with not a lot of time left. Got crazy there for those last few laps, but he's looking pretty strong to the end here. But I think we're on white flag now, so now this is actually the last lap. And again, I just could not get that first rumble down, and that was when I knew. I was like, ah, shit, like, this is not good. So messing up that first rumble there, that's where I kind of knew that I kind of conked my comeback opportunity. Although I ran the downhill, I was nailing that the last few laps. I nailed it again, and I think I gained a lot of that time back. I was running that really fast the last few laps. So I gained a lot of that time back there. Honestly, Detail had a really slow entry into the sand too, so gaining some time there. So man, at this point I'm thinking I'm going for it here. Gonna get side by side through the cave so tight. Made a little contact with the rut though. Look at this. Damn, dude, now I'm looking at this. That first rumble mistake, which I usually run pretty consistently, that was huge. If I didn't mess up that first rumble, it honestly could have happened. I could have had the run here to make this pass, but still had a lot of momentum, still had just enough of an opportunity. What happens here is I'm going to make this same move that Detail tends to make, try to steal some momentum there. But as you can see, it's super tight right here, and I just make a little bit of contact on the rut there. No fault on Details there. Like, that's a really tight section. But that's going to lose me just that little bit of time, which is going to allow him to get the lead in that potential 2 wide. So it got scary there. Like, even though I had a really bad first rumble, that should have locked it up. That Detail did not have the greatest, like, little midsection there, and I was able to bring it back and make it interesting. But he ended up clutching up there in the cave section, holding on to that line, and that might prove victorious for him in the end. And going for the jump line right there. Oh, 2 wide. Oh, it's interesting. No, not gonna happen. So basically what happened there is I just went for the jump line. Like, at that point I was like, ah, screw it, I might as well go for it. And it actually got kind of interesting. And that is going to be the end of the race. Detail ends up clutching out that one. I ended up finishing 2nd, but that was really good. That was a really good last lap battle. And despite Detail having that insane streak on Mirabilis, damn, these races are close. Like, every time he's only had like so many blowouts. Like, for some reason, even though he ends up like winning it pretty much every time, it just always, a lot of the times it just ends up being like these super close battles at the end. Let's watch that jump line again just for memes. So yeah, basically what happened at the end here is that jump line's never used, but I was like, you know what? I might as well go for it. Like, I'm not going to win it going through the chicane, so I go for the jump line. Basically, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to Goomba stomp him. Like, I'm basically trying to land on top of him. That's not going to happen. But I end up landing, like, perfectly on his inside, and that's when I'm like, okay, if I can get a good enough run around this berm, which is not the preferred line, but I was able to do it earlier in the race. Tried to go for it. As you can see, I'm just trying to hold that momentum, but it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It ends up holding onto it. So that was kind of just a last-ditch effort. So that win there is going to gain Detail some more points. And at the end of this part, halfway through the tournament, I'm now going to be sitting with 64 points, whereas Detail is going to be sitting with 63 points. So I'm going to have a 1-point gap now going into the 5th race, past the halfway point. So Detail started, had some good like first 2 races, but I was able to take those first 2, brings it back here in the next 2, and makes it interesting. Now it's only a 1-point gap, and probably kicking himself a little bit for that Barvo race, because that was winnable, but at least he clutches up those 2 and brings it back to a 1-point gap going into some strong tracks coming up as well. So that was part 2. Hope you guys enjoyed that one, and I'll see you next time.